Hi, everyone. I'm back again. I got another interview. I got Priscilla on today. We're going to talk asteroids. My last video was a video on Q, and the comments got locked after a certain point. Now, I don't do this for money, guys. If you think I'm doing this for money, I don't. I have to actually demonetize half to 2/3 of my videos before I even put them on because um, I'll get striked. And until I figure something better out, this is what I'm going to do. Again, I got marketing ideas in November. But we're going to bring it back to astrology, astrotheology, because I haven't done an astrotheology or an astrology thing in a while, and that's kind of the bread and butter of this channel. Um, I've run out of things to break down. I'm still looking. I have the Apocalypse of John on my nightstand. I'm going to crack that. I'm going to see if I could find stuff in there too. But I wanted to get Priscilla on because we're going to talk asteroids. I'm going to bring her on without any further ado. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks for
Hi.
having me
Okay,
back.
great. So, when we were talking behind the scenes, you were like getting into asteroids a little bit, and then you messaged me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like you have your basic color wheel, right?
Yes.
And that would be like the zodiac that kind of tells you certain things about certain things. But like asteroids would be like the 20 trillion colors that blend into the middle, right? All the different colors. It kind of goes deeper. There's so many asteroids. They represent so many things. Where do we even begin with this?
Okay, so how I like to explain it is um, first of all, before I get into that, my understanding of asteroids first came with the basic Sirius, Vesta, Juno, Chiron, the basic ones that everyone kind of knows when they tap into astrology at 1st. Um, but I watch a astrologer on YouTube. Her channel's called Lunatic Astrology. Her name is Lori, and she does Hellenistic astrology, which is something I'm kind of gravitating more towards now as well.
Hellenistic, that's like the Greek stuff, right?
Yes, because they include the asteroids at this, now in that practice, and they use those tools as a method, and I love it because how she describes it is, she says that the devil's in the details.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we look at astrology. So your planets and your houses give you, like, the houses give you an area, what themes you might encounter whenever something is transiting through there, or if you have a natal placement sitting in there. And the regular planets, the basic 9 of them or whatever, they are where we were on a conscious level when they were known and discovered, and when astrology came about, which is a very long time ago.
Now, when astrology first came about, they knew, what was it, 7 planets they knew
Seven.
about?
And then, yes.
And the sun and the, can you name them real quick? Because I know the sun and the moon were 2 of them.
Well, they're luminaries, but yeah, they're planets too. All of it's luminaries, right, really. But so there's Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. Those were the main 7 that they understood. And as we started to evolve our consciousness and able to see further out as well in the universe, we were able to include different planets. Now you have the trans-Neptunian planets, or whatever you want to call them. And that would be what comes after Jupiter, which is Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And then
the way you explained it to me one time was kind of like, and I really liked the way you explained it too, because it was very easy. The way you explained it to me one time, you were kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like when a couple of years ago they found a new section of your eye. A doctor found a new layer to the eye. Like, you would think that we know the body by now, but they found a new layer to it, and as soon as they found it, they were able to ascribe so many maladies to it. Is that kind of like it? Like, we discover something new, and then suddenly it just opens the picture up even more?
Yes, because light is now shining on it, and that's how sight works. It's light. And so it's the same thing with the expansion of the macrocosm to our microcosm. We would be the microcosm of the macrocosm. So as we evolve by understanding and making sense of things and being able to see further out with that light, when things start, the universe starts to expand, we're able to see more. And because of that, we're able to put more details into what we know as far as astrology and energy and, people's behavioral functions due to these planets. So I think it's the 1800s. Don't quote me exactly when in the 1800s. But it was in the 1800s that the asteroid belt was discovered, and that was between Mars and Jupiter. That's where the asteroid belt lies. And as we are progressing, we are now at like 40,000 asteroids. Okay. I do not know all 40,000. About, I think 20,000 of them are in the data bank at astro.com. That's a lot. A lot of pretty much everyone who gets into astrology uses that website because it's free and you can really implement a lot of.
Can you give us the website real quick?
It's astro.com or astrodance.com, but you can just put in astro.com. It'll take you right to it. But they have a plethora of information. And so I use a lot of them as my source and just kind of to delineate. I do have my own software program that has asteroids, but not as many as that site. And so, with books and research, I kind of have gotten deeper in different websites.
Now, they do say that the asteroid belt was from the collision of two planets. That's what they say, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you this one
theory, though.
in theory. So let me ask you this one question. It's a little complicated, but I want to hear your point of view, and you can tell me that you don't know. It's fine.
Okay, that's fine.
We say I don't know all the time on this channel.
Okay.
Planets represent certain things. Like Saturn has a certain set of personality traits. They all have a lot of personality traits, but like depending on where it is, it has a certain amount, right?
Yeah, I look at it as vibrations and frequencies. So it's vibrating at a specific level, as all humans are. And so some can be denser or vibrate higher. So Saturn is a more denser vibration.
So my question, I guess, would simply be this. Hypothetically, if it was two planets colliding, and this is the remnants of it, right? Shouldn't the asteroids' personalities or what they reflect what the original two planets were, or does like crushing them together kind of mix things up? I'm not sure if I'm being clear on this.
Yeah, no, that actually makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it would probably be a blend of both planets and then mixed into different fragments and its little parts here and there.
Gotcha.
And so they also now, the asteroids will kind of govern specific areas or traits or behavioral traits in people, or, depending on where they are in the chart, what sign, what's aspecting, whatnot. So I found this wonderful website that had, I think I have over 100 asteroids here, and what they, pretty much it's the numbers represents when they were discovered as well, like, in order. So
one would be from the 1800s and like 30,000 would be from like a month ago.
Exactly. So on and so forth. Right. And so, but it kind of goes a little bit faster, more than that, because we're like up to like 5,000, 20,000 in the year 2000. So, they've discovered a lot more asteroids in like 1 year as well. But long story short, so I have a few here that I've like gotten really deep into and that I now start to put in people's charts to kind of get a deeper understanding of what they're going through. And so I wanted to go over like at least 10 today if we have time. So
absolutely. Let's do it. However you want to approach this.
So last night, I'm going to start with this one, but I'm not going to go too deep into it because I made a video about it on my YouTube channel, and I'll explain. We can plug that in later so people can follow. But so I did one on Atlantis last night, and that is the first asteroid I want to start with. That is number 1198. So you can just, go into a database that allows you to put in asteroids, put in 1198, voila, it's going to pop up somewhere in your chart. And so Atlantis keywords represents the lost city, world, civilization, a sensing, a spiritual side to oneself, Atlantis lifeline, past lives, Atlantean DNA, ancestors, crystal skills, extraterrestrials, new age groups. Those are just keywords that associate with this asteroid. And then you have the positive and negative effects and the neutral effects of each asteroid. So we're going to get into that as well. The positive effects of Atlantis is the use of technology and knowledge, psychic ability. And then we have the negative side, which is the fall of Atlantis, earthquakes, tsunami, abuse of technology, anxiety of the fall of one's own civilization, abuse of trust, abilities, and inside information, sense of impending doom. And then the neutral is interest in astrology, numerology, crystals, neutral spiritual healing, occult knowledge, chakras, and star seeds.
So let me get this straight. I just want to understand this so I can explain this to everybody.
Okay, yeah, this is gonna go really deep, so I don't know how many.
No. It's fine. Let me understand. Let me understand this. So, like tsunamis, earthquakes, typhoons, all that kind of stuff. That's not God mad at homosexuals. That's Atlantis doing that.
No, it's just a natural energetic occurrence that's happening clearly. But Atlantis is associated with that asteroid because that's how their demise happened, basically. Right. If one believes that Atlantis was here, of course we do, but most people don't. So when this planet is prevalent in specific areas of your chart, it means that you were, in fact, in that era, in that lifetime. You were in Atlantis, which is why I did a video of it last night. And then so certain houses in your chart will indicate that, as well as specific personal planets. Mm-hmm. So let's say you have Atlantis in some type of aspect to Neptune. It won't mean you were there, but it can mean that you have some type of DNA related to that spiritual component side of Atlantis.
Now, these
so you might have a higher atonement.
These asteroids, they're not fixed in signs, right? Because the belt is moving, right?
They move. Yes.
So you have to pull the time.
Yes, because they are going to be very dependent on each person, which is why I'm saying that not everybody was in Atlantis, only some people. Mm-hmm. And what I've figured out through studying this asteroid, and this is just my take on it, this might not be true, but I'm going to put it out there. The asteroid Atlantis was specifically prominent for people born in 1980s, 1990s, and 2000 babies. All of these people were in the time of Atlantis as to why technology is so prevalent right now, mm-hmm. why homosexuality is so prevalent right now, because that was accepted in Atlantis. Transgender, all of that was something that was happening in that time as well. Mm-hmm. And we know this because nothing is new under the sun. Mm-hmm. So we're just kind of recycling again.
These are just cycles.
Yes. And so in that time of Atlantis, they were in an Aquarian type of era, mm-hmm. Due to what they were able to do. They were a very advanced civilization, according mm-hmm. to all of the documents and what, the information that's out there. And they used a lot of crystal energy or mm-hmm. crystal stuff to create energy to kind of move through portals and, advance their technologies, which is like cell phones.
That's what Edgar Cayce. You ever read Cayce?
Yes, I love Edgar Cayce.
When he talks about how they overcharged the crystals and it led to their demise. That was the
exactly. And so the 1980s, the 1990s, and then 2000 babies have this, especially the 1980s, they have this impending sense of doom, which is why in the 1980s we had we had pandemics like AIDS and mm-hmm. stuff like that because of this genetic memory of what we've experienced in other lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And so it's just cycling back. And so now that we are in the 2000 era, these babies are coming out extremely smart, advanced. Our technology is like coming quickly because it's already been here. We already know this stuff. So that's Atlantis. I did a video on that. I don't want to go too deep. They can watch the video later on that. So let's move on. So I want to talk about an asteroid named Nemesis. This is asteroid number 128. And the keywords for this asteroid represents, it carries the energy of karma, the downfall of something or someone, encountering one's own weakness, mm-hmm. the enemy, disappointment in receiving what was due, and responsibility and acceptance of shadow self. The positive side is judge of moral virtues, retribution, vengeance, praise, credit where credit is due, action against crimes, balancing high with lows, ripping rugs from underneath boastfulness, accepting one's flaws, guard against arrogance. The negative side of this is resentment, personified, energy influences that tear you down and apart, key to personal resentment and what do you envy in others, how do you dish out blame. It's the catalyst for feelings of unfairness, being cut to size that causes one to look at their flaws. And then the neutral frequency is that of which is blamed for everything that goes wrong, punishment of excessive pride, evil deeds, and undeserved happiness, noting weaknesses and embracing them, needs to stay humble, the force behind karma, where we are our own worst enemy, consequences for persisting bad habits, and drawing out the negative depths of what she touches. Remember, all asteroids are feminine as well. So that's something I didn't mention. They are feminine because whatever planets collided were feminine planets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so nemesis in a chart will indicate all those things. I actually I put that in my chart, and I wanted to look to see what where it is in my chart, and it lands in my 4th house, which is my root.
Is that your natal chart, or you just did it for now?
No, this is my natal chart. So
Okay.
when I plugged it in, it falls into my 4th house of my roots. And your 4th house is also like your mother. It can represent your internal world. It can represent your emotional state, your emotional temperament, your ancestral lineage, and your childhood as well, like how you experienced it growing up and how it affects you in your child or in your home now. And so when I put this in, it was in the 4th house, 9 degrees in Gemini. And so for me, it was really interesting to look at this because 9 degrees in death astrology represents a homicide degree in the sign of Gemini. And so looking that in my ancestral roots, I was able to realize, because the 4th house is also an exit house, it's also tied to past lives. I was able to see how in another life I dealt with someone that had nemesis energy, and I died by someone's hand. And then looking at my Mars, it's placed in my 12th house of my past life. And Mars is also violence. And it's also weapons and destruction, fighting, war. So we can get really, really detailed when we use these asteroids. So that's an example of how that showed up in my chart. Another one I want to go into is, where's a good one? So Apollo. Apollo is what, Greek, I believe?
Yeah, but Apollo's feminine?
So this asteroid is just named Apollo because it has the feminine component to Apollo, the masculine. So I believe this asteroid is the daughter or related to Apollo, and that's why it has that name. And it's asteroid 1862. So it's, the key word is the Olympian god of prophecy and oracles. It taught Chiron about healing. So it was Apollo who taught Chiron, and this asteroid and Chiron are actually siblings. The positive aspect of this asteroid is protection of the young, healing and provocation, defying the odds, naivety, being a healer, a physically heal themselves, clairvoyance, and being able to see. The negative is plagues and disease, being a slow learner, attraction of reoccurrent and familiar crisis, like cycling through something, and banging your head against a brick wall. And so the neutral represents archery, poetry, song, and music. And
that's all right brain feminine stuff anyway.
Yes, it is. And that's because also I think some of the centaurs also dealt with music, I think, if I'm correct. So this is where we have to really get into Greek mythology, and you got to read your history in that sense, or your mythology, in order to really understand astrology. So again, I was looking like, where is that at? And found that in my 7th house. I thought that was interesting because it's opposite my rising sign, and the rising is my embodiment. So the 7th house is my audience. It's the people I deal with, whether it's in business or in personal one-to-one relationships, like marriage house as well. And so with having Apollo asteroid across from my personal, my who I am, and dealing with other people, I tend to deal with people on a prophetic level, teaching them about healing, teaching them about things like this. So it's cool to see that in real time in your chart. So the next one I want to talk about, which is so important, I find a lot of people that deal with not being heard in life, feeling like they were oppressed through their family or someone, and they can't get their voice in life, or feeling unheard, feeling abandoned, or separated from others. have this asteroid very prominent in their chart. And this one is called Cassandra. She's number 114. And Cassandra personifies the...
Cassandra was a goddess too, I believe.
Yes, and she personifies the medial woman type, who's like intuitive. She has very intuitive faculties and understanding of like unconscious patterns. And they were not welcomed in the ordered rational society in her times, if you learn the mythology. So it was kind of cast out, and which is why I believe these asteroids were always there. We just weren't allowed to know it until the 1800s.
When you're talking about shining a light, you're physically not talking about... So let me just explain this to people. The reason... Look, I don't care what you think of space, and I'm going to make a video because I have to amend something. The whole flat Earth and round Earth debate, I came across something that just changed my mind, and it's actually neither of them. And I'm going to teach it to you guys.
I think that too. I don't think it's either or.
I'm going to show it to you. It's not toroidal shaped. It's not a Mobius strip. It's not a donut. It's none of that. I'm going to show it to you because they show it to you all the time. However, when the Vatican looks out into space and they look for new planets or whatever they're looking for, or NASA, or just anybody who's looking out at the planets do not emit light. So you cannot physically see them. What you look for is shadows on things. And then from that, you can base a lot. You can base the size, for example. I'm not going to go into that basically, but I mean, we're not lit up. We're lit up because of the sun, and the moon reflects the sun's light too. The moon isn't lit up either. There's no electricity lighting up these places. That's not how this works. So when you say that they shine a light on it, you're talking like metaphysically, metaphorically. You're not literally talking like, oh, we can physically see these things now.
No, they've always been there. We just have this deeper consciousness now. So we're able to understand that they're there now. So it's more so, the sun shining a light on something, you know what I mean? Kind of what you're explaining.
Yeah.
And so this is why I say that these asteroids were always there in ancient times, but we had systems in place like we do now that did not allow these specific frequencies to manifest, to be out in the public. They were shunned. And this is where I say that the matriarch awakening is happening, because these are the women vibrations that have been suppressed that are starting to come out to light. And so Cassandra is one of them, being that she was not allowed in the rational society. She pretty much, this asteroid can see what others are too fearful to see, and expose the inevitable patterns of the underpinned situations. You know what I mean? Like, it's an atmosphere of like control and denial, basically. And so Cassandra was like marginalized and demeaned, becoming like the projective reflection of fear and chaos. That's kind of how they made her seem in mythology. So I'm just going to read this.
Sure.
Disbelief and ignorance render her wisdom impotent. When dark feelings, dread, or grief are repressed in the atmosphere, Cassandra is the medium of their expression. So when you're feeling that way, this is where Cassandra comes in, okay? Her curse is that she is not identified with her feeling, leaving her misunderstood and marginalized, okay? I see this very prominent in Saturnian type people charts. So when I say Saturnian type people, marginalized, Hispanics, Blacks, gays, transgenders, people's charts like that, Cassandra will be very prominent in their charts because of that oppressive energy that they feel and not feeling connected to that feminine aspect of them.
You think the people at the top know this, and that's why they're kind of pushing all these minorities slash
that's why they do the war.
They're making them privileged people is what they are.
Yes, and they make them fight against whose is more important than the other, when this that's nor here nor there.
Right.
It's all it's propaganda. And it's really to keep these energies oppressed because of that rise of that matriarch. They don't want that. We're going back to the balance of nature. And nature has always been like powerful. It's always been an energy thing that they did. They've always kept that from us. But anyway, so if let me see, where am I at? So So marginalized. Okay. So her feelings identified by others as autonomous ravings. And they isolate her because of it. So Cassandra is able to sense what is taboo and unlived, but unable to remain separate from it. So the key words with this asteroid is a seer whose voice goes unheard. And it's so funny because I have this again in my fourth house, and as a child, I was told to shut up all the time. I
This
was
is women.
so.
This is pure women right here. This is women, especially if you're a pretty woman. They don't want to hear that you're smart.
And if your ancestral roots have been that way, and since this is my fourth house, it indicates so many women in my lineage that have just been like told to shut up.
Yeah.
Don't speak. Don't teach. You don't know anything. Be quiet. Their messages go unheard.
Right.
And so when I resonated very deeply with this when I saw this, because I also have my Chiron in my fourth house, and I also have a Lilith in my fourth house. So I was like, holy crap. So anyways, Cassandra is able to sense what is taboo and unlived. And so the key word again is the voice goes unheard, abandon, logic, separatedness, I can't say that word, rationality to reveal through feelings, and connectedness. And then the positive abilities of Cassandra's asteroid is drawn to tell the truth regardless of the consequences. Which was really interesting having that conjunct my Chiron, because Chiron is the wounded healer, and mine's in Gemini, and that's communication. So I'm just going to tell the truth regardless of the consequences. And Saturn opposes my asteroid and this one too. So there are people on up who don't like my voice.
Right.
So anyways, so the consequences can relate to those who are not being heard, giving advice, foreboding, deafness, possibly predictions, needing to trust yourself. And then so the negatives of this is the agony that comes with not being heard, one who issues warnings and highlighting the consequences of the warnings, but not being heard, to pain, extreme madness, falling on deaf ears, silenced when you doubt your sanity, hysteria, unbalance, and madness. And the neutral is those who tell their personal truths but are disbelieved, where you feel others are not listening to you, where you may be ridiculed for what you believe in. So again, this is very prominent in a lot of the truthers charts too that I do readings for. Anybody that's on this path of enlightenment and looking for what is true, what's not, or people that have a strong voice, revealing things, they have Cassandra very prevalent in their chart as well. So it's really fun doing these, just kind of getting the details of what people are experiencing, what they went through in their childhood, and why their lives are the way they are now. All of it is programs.
So I wanted to tell people, because some people are probably new to this and listening to this and haven't heard my work, or they came over
like, what the heck?
They came over from Rex's channel and they're like, what? How can you attribute all this to it? And the best way I can explain is the difference between me and you is like what I do is astrotheology, what you do is astrology, and you blend a bunch of different things in there. Our sciences are cousins. They're related because we share the astrology. But just because I could do doesn't mean you could do my work and I can do your work. Not even close.
No, I can only know some things in the Bible that pop out, but nowhere near where you are.
But what I like to tell people is astrology is if you believe in free will, if you believe in the idea of free will, that's fine. You can believe in free will. Free will, if God knows everything, does free will exist? Well, of course, at the top layer of all the dimensions, time is irrelevant. Just because you can see the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega, has nothing to do with what people chose to do during their life. We have free will. That's why we're visited here by people. Earth.
Which is why you're also not subjected to your chart fully. You don't have to be. A lot of people think bound to it. I'm like, no, you can transmute energy. You can shift things.
But that's my point, Pris. I'm trying to think about basically what you do is free will does exist. But astrology is a very real science. It's the oldest science.
Yes.
And we have a good understanding of it, and they keep trying to suppress it. And the one thing about astrology that it does is if you get a good reading, or you know a good astrologer like yourself, and they break you down, what it does is it helps you like therapy supposed to help you.
It's real therapy. It's what therapy is based off of.
What this does is it literally shows you why you are the way you are. And once you become aware of that, then it becomes the fork in the road. You can choose either side.
You can fix it now.
As opposed to just following what you think are your instincts. So that's basically it.
And it's the difference between the animalistic mind and the higher mind.
Exactly. We're in a higher dimension. You ever see You ever see? I just saw a cat before. You ever see a dog? They look up to you. They want to be you so bad.
Yes.
You know, they're in the second dimension. We're in the third. Plants are in the first. So
And we're
how
moving into the 4 and 5 if we can level up.
we're working on it. We definitely are. This is a collective thing. So
Yes.
has these? I'm going to let you keep going with the asteroids, but have they helped you get a better understanding of yourself? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I don't want to make this about you and your chart because that's kind of personal, but um, tell people how they can benefit from understanding asteroids a little bit more. For, yeah, if you can.
They just give you a hyper focus. It's almost like an eagle eye view of whatever the problem is in the first place. So while the planets and points and aspects are like, hey, this is the two energies, this is what's happening, whether it's opposition or square. Well, the details is the asteroids. And once you know these details, you can figure out how to fix whatever issue you have going on. Also, they can help you to bring out talents, hidden talents that you don't even realize you have, hidden abilities, which can help evolve you, can help better your life. So there's a lot of reasons to really tap into the asteroids. It expands your consciousness. What I noticed too, I think I said this to you in another video or on your platform before, that they don't really pop out into your life until you're ready for that information. So like when I got into astrology, it was just the basic Sirius, Chiron, Vesta, the regular, stuff. And then as I've been evolving into this practice, I am literally, things are popping out more. They're coming out of nowhere and they're relatable to what's happening around me. So it's a frequency thing. As much as people think it's hocus pocus, it really has to do with where you are on the evolutionary scale, where your mind is at, your conscious mind.
Aside from knowing yourself a little bit better, right? Know thyself, most important thing ever said.
And also know the seasons that you're in. It's important to know the seasons, the temperament, what's happening, so that you know how to
But this
function.
doesn't just help you. This doesn't just help you know yourself.
Everyone.
This helps you know yourself, yes. But this also helps you navigate your everyday thing.
The people, your situations, again, the time, the eras we're in, it helps you make better decisions. It can help you with implementing when to do something, like we were talking behind the scenes, medical astrology, when to do surgeries, never do surgeries during eclipses. That's the worst time.
Never do anything during an eclipse.
Especially getting cut though. Like you're going to have something, you're gonna have hemorrhage. I'm sorry. Right. An eclipse indicates the fluid of your body. A full moon is the fluid of your body being all the way at its potential.
It's so funny, Priscilla, because you hear a lot of things from like the religious people, like the Christians. They'll tell you that astrology is complete garbage, but then they'll sit there and like hide in the house during the full moon and keep their kids in the house.
Yep. Say hi. We just got her.
Yeah, he was the one that was there before. Hey, buddy, you're famous.
Yeah. He's over here scratching my toe, so I had to get him away.
So do you want to keep going with the list? I want to let you get through as many as you can.
But yes, no, I agree with you about the Christians, because exactly like you said, they hide away during a full moon, or they're drinking the blood of Christ. Like you're doing rituals, you're lighting candles, you're doing everything around specific cycles that are all has to do with quote unquote witchcraft. So right. Yeah, that's obscene. I don't get it. when you unplug, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so another one that I want to do is Psyche. This asteroid is 16. So think about how far back we've known about this asteroid. It's number 16. This one deals with, before I go into what their description is, what I have learned Psyche to be is where real love is connected. So this is important when we're looking at synastry charts for people. You look at a psyche, you want to see how they connect, so how two people psychologically.
Define a synastry chart for people real quick, because I know I just had you do one for me.
Sure, absolutely. So a synastry is, say, you and me, Micah, we take our charts and we overlay them, and now we get a synastry of what is happening.
Our natal charts, right?
Our natal charts, yes. And we get a whole map of how our energies are merging together and how they're not merging, and so on and so forth, how they cooperate.
This is why I tell people all the time, do not I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, I don't tell people whether to have an abortion or not, depending on what I think. It doesn't matter.
It
I'm not
doesn't
telling
matter.
people not to have sex with people. But what I'm telling you is that you merge energies when you do that. It's a very sacred thing. And you
Listen,
imprint on each other for 7 years.
I wish I would have known that before I've dated some people.
But that's basically what you do. You're imprinting your energies.
Yeah, and that's
And I tell people, even don't masturbate.
and genetically.
And I tell people, don't even masturbate to porn. Don't watch porn. It's a detriment to people. In fact, when you're masturbating to porn, you're giving them your energy. Why would you even want to do that?
Energy exchange.
It is.
And I actually learned that years ago because of the first job I had for so long. I learned that exchange of energy. So, yeah, it's very, very real. Which is why you should always get a synastry on or look at people's stuff before you even mesh with them. Because this will tell you if it's going to waste your time or not. If this person's coming in to be your karma or a lesson, Now, to be frank, some things are fated. Even though we have free will, there are things that are fated. So no matter how much you try to avoid it, it's going to cycle back.
Mm-hmm.
So some things we don't have that power in, but you can at least learn to adapt better to people that are going to be problematic in your life.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, we're born into karmic families, so there's really nothing you can do to avoid that as you're growing up, or even in your adult life. For real, you could go for the rest of your life not talking to people, but that's so silly.
My mom lives in France, and she works with a guru. Not a guru. I don't want to use that word. That word sucks. She works with, let's call it a generational healer. She does transgenerational work to remove past karma.
I love that.
From previous ancestors that could be passed down to her and in turn to me.
Mm-hmm.
Working on removing all that. What people don't seem to understand is that DNA is like a computer blueprint. If one of your ancestors gets raped or beaten, that gets imprinted on the DNA. That gets passed down.
Cellular memory.
Yeah. Cellular memory is a very real thing. Look into it.
And what I'm learning now is epigenetics. You can alter this.
Yes.
That's kind of something your mom and them are doing. It's a form of epigenetics. So, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so back to Psyche.
Sure.
So Psyche is the soul love because it's the psyches merging.
Mm-hmm.
If they're aspected in a positive way. So the key words of this is in Greek, psyche actually means soul.
Yes, I was going to say Psyche's Greek, yeah.
Yes, and it means soul, and it means soul. For this asteroid, means soul retrieval. And so before I go any further, I read this work from, I can't remember his name, Newton, I think is his last name, but he was a hypnotherapist who did like over 300 past life regressions or near-death experience regressions because he was curious. He wanted to see like, where do we go when we die? So he took a lot of his, this is clinical trials. A lot of these people, he regressed them into that moment that they had.
Before you finish this story, I need you to continue this story. People are going to hate me because I keep interrupting, but I need you to acknowledge and recognize I don't know if it's a psyop, but there's a lot of heat coming down on people saying that they're implanting false memories in people that regress hypnotherapy. What do you think about that?
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I think you can. I think that if you know what you're doing, you can definitely implement bullshit and people will believe it if they have a conscious that's not strong enough, because they do that now to our waking state.
Yes.
They do that with TV programming, music. You don't even realize that.
Fall asleep with the TV on. You're just leaving your mind wide open.
Yeah, and when you're watching TV or a program, you're hitting a different vibration. I can't remember what it's called. It's like
your brain waves change too.
Or gamma or something that you're hitting.
Your brain waves change, yeah.
Yeah, and so you're in a hypnotic state. You're awake, but you're in a hypnotic state, and so that's how things get into your subconscious. So, yes, I do believe that you can do that. But in this guy's case, I don't think he was that type of person.
Right.
Just from learning, reading his book.
I just wanted you to acknowledge that before you continue.
No, that's important. That's very, very important to talk about. But knowing where he's coming from, because he's into astrology and all that stuff, he was very sincere with why he was doing this. So he had over 300 cases. They all went back into a place of where the souls are. And they talked about soul groups. And so I bring that up because when Psyche's talking about soul retrieval, these are psyches that are connecting because of soul groups from other realms that they belong to. So this is another where I look at the charts like, well, if this person's energy doesn't merge with yours, it's because they're not part of your soul group. And soul groups are big. It's not just like 5 or 6 people. It's thousands of people into one like soul group bubble.
Well, the religious will pervert this and call it the 144,000.
Yeah, which that's just is it the wait 100? That's the biquantile in astrology. That's just an aspect. And only some people have that 144, and that actually represents let me tell you right now, it's supposed to represent your talents and hidden skills. It doesn't mean anything else.
Right.
But a lot of people like, I'm the 144. No, if you don't have that marked in your chart, you are not the 144.
Right.
And the 144 is not 144,000. It's just an aspect.
Right.
But it's a very benevolent aspect. It's very like like I said, you're talented and you have like a touch of like God, almost like the yod. The yod is the finger of God in astrology.
Right. Well, yod in Hebrew means finger.
Yes, and in astrology, it's the finger of God. You're touched by God.
When they're reading the Torah, when they're reading the scrolls, they have a point there because they can't physically touch it because the oils are degrading.
Yep.
It's called the yod. Yod is.
Yep. In astrology, that's very prevalent in someone's chart. That is what they say, touched by God. It's a very challenging aspect, but it's also a very it's one of deep enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why they say you're touched by God. But anyway, so going back to Psyche, this asteroid deals with transcendence, entrance into oneself, the butterfly and the star, journey to our soul, the breath and mind.
That's interesting because the butterfly signifies, it represents change. It represents a birth, a new birth from a caterpillar to a butterfly. It's a rebirth.
Which is why Psyche is important when you want to find deep soul love, because when you connect with someone, it's a rebirth. You done came back together from, whatever other lifetimes. You found that person, and now you guys are going to rebirth together. It's a power, which is what sex is. Sex, the union of sex, is supposed to be a power of transformation. It's not supposed to be used the way we use it.
Right.
Okay, so it's also the divine feminine. So when you see this in a male's chart and in synastry with a woman, if this conjuncts, his rising, his sun, his Venus, this is the divine feminine for him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Venus being the goddess of love, right? I think Venus rules. What is it? It's Taurus and Libra, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is, right?
Venus is Aphrodite, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people, guys, if you don't think they're putting spells on you right now, it's literally called spelling.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever they discover something new and they classify it into the kingdom, phylum, all that kind of stuff, they give it a Roman name. They give it a Latin name, or they'll give something. It's a Greek and a Roman mix. Whenever the whole body, every bone, every joint, every muscle, every condition is a combination of Greek and Roman words.
Which is astrology, is a lot of the words are based on that. So you have to learn your language as well. It's very important to learn linguistics and things like that, etymology, to understand what's being said.
I would tell people, take an intro to medical terminology course at your local community college.
Yeah, medicine as well, because they use a lot of Greek, because that's where a lot of their medicines and potions comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I tell people astrology just isn't looking at some circles and some signs. It really is so many studies in one that I've had to really dig with.
What it is, Priscilla, is it is pure psychology in its purest form.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's divine. It's pure psychology. But you were saying, so you were saying the butterfly and you were talking about, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, the divine feminine, the butterfly, journey to our soul, the psyche. So the positive energy for this asteroid is trust, love, passion, uncovering whom we are, what love means to us, innermost depth, reflection, metamorphosis, and then the negative is betrayal, jealousy, obstacles to one's soul, shadow work, trials of love, fragility of love, path to true love never runs smooth, a soul loss, fragmentation where you run away from your shadow. And the neutral is psychology, psychic, psychedelics, psychopathic, study of the mind, achieving immorality, self-actualization, union of mind, body, and soul. What'd you say?
You mean immortality, right?
Immortality. Mm-hmm.
I think you said immorality, and I was like, well, I could do that.
No, immortality. Sorry, I'm reading too fast. So, achieving immortality, self-actualization, union of mind, body, and soul, and where you seek to know the truth. So, this is why this asteroid is so important. When when I'm looking at transits too, I like to also activate this one or turn it on in the database just to see where it's at in someone's chart when they get transit readings, to know what areas are being activated for them on a psychological level. This is where you go to do soul work and shadow work.
Now, are there tiers to asteroids? Like, are there like levels of power?
Like, what's more important than the others? Yeah, like
no, I mean, you get that in charts too, right? Like Saturn would be a very powerful.
Yes. So depending on what rules the asteroid or what it's related to,
asteroids have planet
power. You said what?
Asteroids have rulers?
Yeah, well, they're related to other energies. So, for instance, that last one we did, which one was it? Psyche, Sandra. But it was Apollo. Apollo is related to Chiron, which is related to the centaurs. So now we're talking about Jupiter. See what I'm saying? So that would be a Jupiterian frequency, because it's also represents sun. So it says it means sun. So the sun and Jupiter would be its rulers. It would be the vibrational frequencies that is under the modality and the understanding of that psychological frequency. So yes, every asteroid plays a position. Ones are stronger, more prevalent than others. One are more dominant in charts, which is why astrology, they look at Vesta and Chiron and these main ones. Okay, where the heck was I?
You have the word Jesus, or Hail Zeus, Hey Zeus, Hail Zeus. Zeus is Jupiter.
It's Zeus, Hail Zeus. Which is Zeus, which is Jupiter. And the reason for that is because Jupiter is the teacher. It's the guru. It's the king of the gods. It's where people went to learn, wisdom and stuff like that.
And it's also the biggest planet, isn't it?
So past Psyche, we have Eros. Go ahead. Jupiter, yeah. It's huge. It's a big ass gas giant.
It's a big gas giant, yeah. Did you happen
to see? Which is why Jupiterian people can seem so full of life. Jupiter people can seem so full of life, and they can seem very expansive, sometimes very high, like where they feel they have a god complex. They got to humble themselves and stuff. So there's different vibrations. You have the good higher octave of Jupiter, and then you can have the lower side of Jupiter, which could be like ego.
Did you happen to see the article that came out that was talking about?
All right, how long was I gone there for?
No, 2 seconds. It's fine. Did you happen to see the article that came out that said the hexagon storm pattern that's on the top of Saturn changed color?
I didn't see it. No. Gotta send it to me.
I will. Okay. So I'll let you keep going.
I want to do that. Definitely. All right. So the next asteroid I want to talk about is the asteroid Angel. I like this one. It's 1911 in the chart. And the key words is divine guidance. So everybody will have this somewhere in their chart. And this is a good asteroid to go to understand, to learn, and to watch transits with, so that you know where you're divinely guided at. This is a good way to have communion and have an understanding of what decisions should be made. This is where you may feel watched over or protected. Divine interventions, spiritual healing. The positive of this asteroid is seeing the light, angelic guidance and enlightenment, cosmic connection, being shown the way and helping hand. The negative is there really is no negative for this asteroid. It's just neutral. And so the neutral is surrendering to a higher power, messages from source, angel in disguise, a guardian angel, and a mirror for the soul. So I punched that in. I was kind of curious, like, where is that at for me? And that's in my 11th house of hopes, dreams, aspiration, collective community. So I come off as an angel to the people, I guess. And for me, it's at 6 degrees. So it is 3 degrees conjunct to my Neptune. And Neptune rules my rising Pisces. So I come off as some guardian, teacher, angel. And I can actually be a guardian for a lot of people that I've connected with. Or they might have felt me as somebody that could guide them or guard them, or like a very benevolent, protective energy.
Mhm.
Um,
I just want to
so
let
just,
you know,
again, wherever that's at in your chart. Okay, we're frozen again.
while you're
You're
doing
frozen.
all
There you go.
okay, while you're doing all of this, I just want to let you know that your cat found something on the bed and has been playing with it for the last 5 minutes.
I know. I watched him like trying to ignore him. He's so cute.
He's really cute. All right, so go on. This is
He's playing with my pen. But yeah, so for me, it lands in my collective community house, hopes, dreams, aspirations, and my friendship house. So I have been a protective force for a lot of friends that I've came across, and a lot of people that I connect with have also been protective and very angel-like for me.
You know, when I was an actor in New York City, they told me 2 things. They said, never work with a baby and never work with an animal because they can naturally upstage you, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, look at him. He's
So,
the star of the show.
He's gone. Okay, so what do we got next?
All right, so going past Angel. I'm just going to talk real quickly about this one. There's an asteroid called Reiki. So, by the way, for those people that don't know out there, if you play with astrology, this is always fun to do. You can actually type in people's names, and if they have an asteroid, they will pop up in your chart, and somewhere in your chart what they mean to you, how y'all met, and if you look, it's so eerily like connected to your real life. Are you still there with me?
Yeah, I'm here. Have you done that?
Okay, there we go. Wait, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Have you done that?
There we go. I don't know if it's your Wi-Fi or mine. Yes, I have. I have put like my ex-boyfriends, my ex-husband, my children. Now, some names I can't find. To me, when I understand this, that these people aren't in this asteroid belt yet, I feel like it's because their consciousness has not evolved to that place yet, which makes a lot of sense. Like for my oldest, I can't find her name in the asteroid. And she deals with the spectrum of autism, so she's not really in this you know what I'm saying, like they're smart in their own way, but the consciousness is a little bit different than ours. And so some people too, you have to spell it differently, so you might have to go to the original spelling, which is why etymology is important, and then you can find them. But yeah, I've punched in people and tried to see like where they are. I have an asteroid. There's asteroid Priscilla. And it was very interesting learning about the lady why it was named Priscilla was because she discovered this asteroid in like the 1970s, I believe. And she didn't get to name the asteroid before she died. So her husband named the asteroid Priscilla. And so when I was learning about her, I related so much to this woman because she was a star person. She loved the stars. She was into astronomy. She was very into science and a lot of things I'm into. So yeah, you can if you guys decided you want to do that, you can pop in someone's name and they'll pop up in your chart, and it's so cool to see that.
Have you looked me up?
Have I done you yet? I think I have, and I think you were in my 7th house, which is my business house. So it was so funny. I'm gonna do it again, and I'll take a screenshot and send it to you. But
do it.
So that brings me back to Reiki. So there is an asteroid called Reiki. And there is a practice in the world of this thing called Reiki where, they align the chakras and energies and stuff. So that one is asteroid 5239. This is, of course, it represents energy healing, channeling, energy work, healing with chakras related to chi and prana, which is breathing. And positive is the open-minded about progressive health, or use it. And then the negative is energy bleeds, sensitive to the negative energy of others, and psychic vampires. So this is always good to look to see how it's aspected, to see who could potentially be in your life draining you, stuff of that nature. And the neutral for this is holistic, healthy practitioner, how we incorporate the wisdom of healthy and in our health into our experiences. So I thought that one was cool because you can see, like for me, this is in my 6th house again of health and service to humanity. So it's funny. Look at this cat.
I see.
I also have Urania, the asteroid that rules astrology, in my 6th house to service of humanity and conscious mind and work. So thought that was cool.
Cool.
I've got so many more. I just don't really know which ones you want to talk about.
Well, did you answer me before? I can't remember. Are there levels to this? Like as far as certain ones that are maybe stronger or more prominent? I can't remember if I had.
Yes, you did. And I said that like the main ones that astrology uses, which is like Chiron, Vesta.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the other ones. I can't think off my head right now. Oh, Sirius. Those main four. There's another one. I can't think what it is. Oh, Juno. Those main four are looked at. But as our consciousness expands, I feel like more and more people are punching in asteroids. Like, for instance, that astrologer that I watched, Lori, she uses so many to kind of look at the details of like world events. So you can do mundane astrology where you're looking at the current events and add these in, and it kind of gives you a detail. I think the more that we shy away from mainstream information, more and more people are going to go to astrologers for their updates, and because you're kind of getting it from a concrete source, just interpretation of energy versus whatever mumble jumble they sell you out there.
So at the beginning of this podcast, you mentioned the phrase "New Age," and I just wanted to remind you is that there's nothing new about any of this stuff. The stuff they call New Age now is really the oldest stuff.
Which is why that asteroid Atlantis rules that terminology, because Atlantis was here once before. So it's just showing you how cycles evolve, but we coin things new because they're new to our time on Earth this time.
Right.
And our memories kind of get blotted out. Some people have a stronger memory recollection, some don't. Some completely sleep, whatever.
They did an experiment in Japan because Japan's the furthest along technologically, or they were when they did this. And what they did was they tried to build a pyramid 1/16th size with all the equipment and everything, modern day, everything. They couldn't do it. They couldn't build a pyramid. Couldn't do it at all. We can't rebuild these churches from 1,000 years ago. We don't have this. We don't have this anymore. We don't have this technology anymore. And we think we're the furthest along.
I think now with the age that we're in, as we evolve, because we have 2,600 years of this aqua age anyways, as we further get into deeper, Aquarian frequency, we will be able to tap into crystals and crystal technology more and build things at a different level.
They show it to you in the Superman movies. Superman goes into the cave of crystals. They show it to you. They know this stuff. They mock you by not telling you.
They tell you through these movies. I forgot. I think it's like recollection, or what is it called? It's it's a method that they use in order to.
Revelation of the method.
Thank you. That's what it was. I couldn't think of it.
They have to show it to you because karma is real. Mathematics is the language that ties everything together. Sacred frequencies, sacred geometries, all that are a part of it. A piano, the way the keys are broken up, or it's Fibonacci, the black keys and the white keys. It's math. That's all this stuff is.
Everything's math.
It's tied together.
Math, all of it.
It's tied together with karma. That's the governing principle of everything.
Yep. And as I get further into this, so like I'm not just doing astrology alone now. I'm tapping into the gene keys, human design, numerology, cardology. I blend it all in together. Yes, exactly.
So what I explain to people is this. I know you're not a fan of the word cusp, but I'm going to explain it to people real quick. Basically, you have a sign is 30 days. And each one of those 30 days is broken up into 3 10-day segments called deacons. That's why you have deacons in church.
And you have deacons in astrology, too.
You have deacons in astrology, too. Exactly.
Every house has 30 or 10 each, and a planet rules it, depending on
you have your first deacon, your second deacon, and your third deacon. And what I tell people when it comes to what was I going to say? I forget what I was going to say. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
Do you want to keep going?
Yeah. Let's do like 1 or 2 more, and then we can go into something else. Okay. So I thought this one was fun. So this is asteroid number 7. It's called Frigga. However, it actually represents Isis. Isis. And so the key word is the wife of Odin. I think this is Norse, right?
Yes,
Nordic.
I did a video on Odin with the two ravens. One was
Yes. So this asteroid has a lot to do with the Nordic people, and this asteroid represents the wife of Odin, which would be considered in our day Santa Claus, I think. But anyway, so it's Norse god of marriage. That's what it signifies. Frigg the beloved is the sky goddess responsible for weaving the clouds, fates, beginning of the year, the runic alphabet, and ruins, as well as divination and cats. I love kitties. And positive for this is foreknowledge, wisdom, beloved, loving mother and wife, foresight, nurturing and tender-hearted, fertility, art of foretelling events, and weaving destiny. And the negative of this, which there really isn't, it's neutral again, is knows the future but does not share what she sees, and knowing the future but not being able to change it, the full moon, fine jewelry, and spinning in a spinning wheel and spindle. But I was interested in this one too, so I punched it into my chart to see where it was at, and it's in my Scorpio house. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, there's a lot I don't share about what I see. So I thought that was interesting. And it's conjunct my Mercury. My Mercury is my communication and a learning planet as well. So there's a lot that I kind of keep tucked in. But so that asteroid can also be considered Iris or Frigga, because
You mean Isis, right?
or Isis, sorry, not Iris. But it's because I think people don't understand that the mythologies or beliefs, religions, they kind of overlay. They are an overlay. They're just kind of repeating civilization after civilization and kind of getting their own little add-ins and twists and names in there. But it's the same.
People don't even realize that the Egyptian time period was so long that they actually had two separate sun gods. People don't even realize that. It was such a long period of time.
Yeah, I think if I'm correct, they had also Saturn, the black sun.
Saturn was a lot closer. The Jewish religion was completely based off of Saturn.
Off of Saturn, Saturnalia, Saturn worship, exactly. Mm-hmm. So everything is really just archetypal. If people will just kind of get out of that brainwashing, they'll understand it's archetypes, just changed over culture and civilization time and time again.
It's the hero's journey. It's the same story that they're telling over and over and over again. When you understand the hero's journey and you understand astrology, you'll understand the known history of why things are the way they are.
I am actually endowed with the hero's journey. I am gene key and line 28 in human design, and 28 is the epitome of the hero's journey, which is 2 degrees Scorpio. My sun is at 2 degrees Scorpio with Pluto there, transforming. So it's like I'm on that journey. But yeah, so I love how when you bring that up, it all kind of just ties in, and you can. The thing about these methods, like these different tools to divination tools, they're going to come to the same understanding. It doesn't matter if you use tarot. It doesn't matter if you use human design. Some are just deeper layers of what you are already figuring out, but they're all going to come to the same conclusion because it's just reading your coding. It's your vibrational coding.
It's basically like when you, how do I put this? When like you're driving and you know 5 different ways to get to the same exact spot.
You're still going to get the same spot, but there's 5 different ways to go. Exactly. And so that's kind of how these tools are used, is to look at the layers of your coding, because you have different software and programs in you. So it's just how to unlock them and how to find the best way to tune it up and get the most functioning that you can, the most optimal frequency for yourself. So again, life is truly a dream. Life is but a dream. I love that saying, because it's how you see it, how you perceive it, how you make it happen.
I tell people this all the time. I tell people dreams feel more real than reality.
They are.
People who have done hallucinogens, the same thing too.
Those are more real. You're there.
In fact, when you wake up and you haven't gotten enough sleep, you haven't gotten enough DMT flood, you're tired, you drink coffee. Coffee does not give you energy, and the caffeine does not wake you up.
No, that makes
coffee does is it blocks the adenosine receptors in your mind. What those do is tell you that you're tired. Our natural state is to be in sort of theta waves. This world really is a dream. And people, the problem is, it's not even religion or the astrotheology or any of that. The problem with everybody is that they take this world too seriously. That's the biggest problem.
I was guilty of that.
Take the world too seriously until you realize you're here for a short time. You're gonna go. I'm not gonna come back.
I like that you say that we're in this beta state, like we're really in a dream, because if you learn vibrations, you learn the frequencies, we really are in a state of dreaming. That's the vibration that we're in. So we're supposed to wake ourselves up, go higher. That's why they call it the Great Awakening.
What I was going to tell you earlier about the deacons and the signs is basically, I know you don't like the term cusp, but what a cusp is you have a 30-day sign. A cusp would be the last 3 of that sign and the first 3 of the next sign. Some astrologers will tell you that there is a blending of energy. For example, I'm September 26th, so I'm 3 days out of Virgo, right? So some astrologers will tell you you have some Virgo energy in you, this, that, and the other thing. But that's a 3-day time period, or a 6-day time period, 3 in one sign, 3 in another, making the 6-day handover period until things become a little more pure and clean. As the energies get towards the middle of your
I would say for you, because I give it 2 days. I don't go past 2 days on each side, give or take. So I would say for you personally, I would say you wouldn't have any Virgo only because of your time of birth. You're a day chart. So I look at it like if you were born the day before at the night, that would be your last little area where you'll have that blend in there.
Right.
Because astrology is indicative of that time. So that doesn't mean that you're going to not have some influence, but you're not that vibration.
Oh, 100%.
So I think people confuse that because they're like, oh, no, well, I'm this sign and this sign. No, you have some, maybe some tweaking or some influences, but you're not that sign.
And then people like you will say that your sun sign isn't even the most important. It's your ascendant.
No, not at all. It's your ascendant, your moon. And I personally feel like your Mars matters a lot too in comparison. Your sun is really your ego. And what you're really here to do is work through that ego, and you're striving for what it is that you want to be when that's that sun. But if you look at the sun is more like the battery. It's just the battery of your physical embodiment. So a lot of people are tied to it, and that's because that's something you want to strive to be.
Right.
But to me, it's like, no, you are your physical embodiment. So you are more your Mars, your first house, and your moon. You are your temperament.
my point was, so it's, let's say it's a 3 day or 2, let's say 2 days, right? You say 2 days. Let's say 2 day on either side. So you have a 4-day time period from one hand over to the next till the energies are clean again, right? Okay. Well, when you go through the procession of the equinoxes, which is what we're doing as coming into the age of Aquarius, what you'll see is that instead of a 30-day time period with those 4 days, this is a 2160-year time period with a cusp attached to it as well too. So what you're seeing right now, and there's a way for you guys to know this, what you're going to want to do is go to the equator. And I'm not saying everyone can afford this or do this, whatever, but like you're going to go to the equator, and what you're going to do is on March 21st, the spring equinox, you have Passover, you have the Easter, you have the resurrection of the sun passes over. On that particular day, the sun's going to rise. The sign behind the sun that it rises up against is the sign that we're in. Now, Rex Bear has physically done what I suggested to do and done this. And he has posted a video saying we're still in Pisces, and that makes sense. Because you have to think about it. We're in a handover period right now between signs, only it's not a 4-day handover period. It's you gotta calculate, you gotta do the math.
Yeah.
But basically, what you got to realize is that the age of Pisces was the age of belief. It was the age of religion.
I call it the residue. We're still in the residue.
It was really a dark age, is what it is. The age of Aquarius is the age of knowing, the age of enlightenment, the age of return. So what you're getting right now is we're starting to see people start to wake up in Aquarius a little bit because we have some of that energy coming in.
Yeah,
but we're still fighting
right there.
We're still fighting getting rid of the energy.
We're in the residue. Yep, and a lot of people have.
That's what it is. We're in the transformational time period. Is what it is.
And like you said, it's the darkness. So people are literally sleeping still, waking up. They're waking up into that enlightenment, and it's a slow process per where you are.
And not only
everybody's different too.
Not only is it a slow process, it's an absurdly painful one too.
Very painful to wake up. It's like being birthed. Like that's how babies feel. They're like, oh no, I'm here again.
That is being born again. That is being born again. It is not a water dump.
Yeah. And yeah, that's exactly why it's painful being born again. I like that.
It's being born again. That's what it is.
Yep.
So do you have any more that you want to go into?
I think I'm gonna leave y'all with that because I've got literally like pages and books and so much more. I was reading on medical astrology today, so
Everybody that doesn't know, this is Priscilla. She's my astrologer. We've been friends. We've been very good friends for a few years now. And she helped author my kids' book. Literally, name on the book. We split revenue down the line. She's one of my best friends. And we're going to, at some point, when we can get our shit together, we're going to do a second book for high school kids, because you'll have the kids from 6 to 11 reading our A's for Aries book. And then in high school, we could start teaching them more
introduction to the basics.
Yeah, we're going to work on
charts that. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
So astrology for dummies, basically, is what we're going to do. You know what the funny thing is, guys? The last dry age period was about 12,000 years ago, and I've talked about this before, too. I'll just leave it with this. 12,000 years ago, the Sphinx, which is basically a lion, was facing the constellation Leo. That was the last dry age period. The Lascaux caves go back 17,000 years. And they had full understanding of astrology there. They knew the constellations. What you're going to realize is that no matter how many cycles, because we go through periodic cycles every like 10 to 12,000 years where there's like a pretty big reset. And what you're going to realize with this reset, basically, is that this science will not be forgotten, because it is embedded and ingrained into space-time. You have to think of space-time. You can't think of it as like a straight line or a ball rolling down a hill. You have to think of it as a rug kind of woven together. That's how space-time works together. It's like this. And astrology is woven into it.
Yeah, these sciences are the existence of life. Like, if we did not have these things, we would not be here.
Right, and they will survive. Mm-hmm. So, Priscilla, just tell everyone where they can find you. I'm going to find that article on Saturn and send it to you before.
Yes, please do. And you guys can find me at spiritcoachingastrology.com. I'm also on Android and iPhone app. You can download it. Same thing, spiritcoachingastrology.com. And then I'm on YouTube. It's called Spirit Coaching Astrology as well. So you can find me now. I'm getting my podcast going. I'm adding more videos now as I get comfortable with it. And yeah, we'll be doing a lot more of these. And I should be having my classes, beginner classes, in about a month or so on my website. So if anybody wants to learn astrology, I'm going to be doing different segments of like beginner, intermediate, advanced for people to learn.
Right. This has just been such a good conversation. It's always so good to see you. Would you give your cat my best?
I will. She's playing with this little Mexican hat. It's so funny. Look.
That's what she's playing with?
Like the little Taco Bell dog with the cat. Yeah.
That's amazing. Fantastic. All right, Priscilla. I'm
gonna laugh the whole time when I was over here watching her play with that, but
I couldn't stop watching the cat. Like, they told me that
when I was distracted. They're gonna be like, screw the astrology, the cat's cute.
When I was like 14, 15 years old and I was in that acting school in the city, the American Academy, they were like, just don't work with animals and don't work with kids. Or don't work with babies, is what they said. It always stuck with me. But Priscilla, thank you very much. I'm going to put this up right away. I'll send you the article and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.